So what's going on, guys? I am Black Ops Amazing. Welcome back to another video. Welcome back to another Zombies Q&A on the channel, the series where I take your questions from the comment section below to do with zombie storyline, Easter eggs, and I answer them. As always, if you enjoyed today's video, you know what to do by now. Drop a like rating if you want to. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest content. But let's get into it. Here we go and enjoy. So the first question of the day from Jason X Studio says, "Hey BOA, what exactly do the ritual worms have to do with the Easter egg?" So I presume you're talking about the gate worms from Shadows of Evil, these creatures that we see once you do the rituals. I believe they represent the soul of each person we kill, because as you're going around doing the rituals in order to open up the Pack-a-Punch area, as it's finishing and the person explodes and their blood collects inside of the summoning key, the gate worm appears. So clearly it has something to do with the sacrifices, and also the name, gate worm. There is another creature in Shadows, which are the gatekeepers. Could these two be related? The gatekeepers of course are good, so are the gate worms good as well? I don't think they're apothecans. We also have gate worms in Revelations when you find an apothecan egg, but to be honest that's just my theory on what they are and how they work. I'm not really too sure. They do seem quite random. The word gate in front of their name would suggest they are protecting something. We know the gatekeepers were protecting the summoning key, as well as the gateway to Agatha. So are the gate worms protecting souls? It's not something I've really thought about. The next question of today says, if Richtofen was controlling the zombies on Moon, does that mean Samantha was in his body when we played? And the answer to that is yes. If you play Moon and you fully complete the Easter egg, after Richtofen switches positions with Samantha, he goes inside of her body in the MPD, and Samantha's soul is put into Richtofen's body. If you continue to play after this, not only will the zombies' eyes turn from yellow to blue, representing Richtofen in control, but also you will hear Samantha speak from inside of Richtofen's body. So if you fully complete the Moon Easter egg and continue to play, you will experience this. And I remember all the way back in 2011 when this was first done, I was thinking, when the next game comes out, BO2, are we going to be able to play as Samantha in Richtofen's body? It's kind of weird hearing a girl's voice in a man's body, especially an 11-year-old in a 50-year-old man's body. That's yeah. But I remember thinking in BO2, are we going to play as Richtofen, Taki, and Nikolai Dempsey, only that Richtofen is Samantha? Of course that never came to be, probably for the best, but simply to answer your question, yes. When Richtofen was controlling the zombies on Moon, Samantha was in his body. He was also in her body. A little bit weird. The next question of the day from Greg Oast says, "Hey BOA, on the TV radio in TRANZIT at Farm, a person says that they were getting overrun while trying to turn on the pylon. Does this mean there was another transit crew?" So yes and no, there wasn't another transit crew, as in a Malton, Russman, Misty and Stuhlinger, but the transit crew are really just random survivors, and these other people that we can hear through radio broadcasts and TV stations are also other survivors, so you can say yes. Anyway, we know once the Earth was destroyed by the 3 rockets that were sent down from Moon, the Earth was left fractured and broken. Millions, even billions of people were killed. This wasn't only down to the rockets hitting Earth and leaving it fractured, but the zombie apocalypse also had a big role to play in wiping out Earth's population, leaving only a few survivors left. We don't know the specific number, I would guess hundreds, maybe thousands. The Canorium says on March the 18th, 2027, this is 2 years after the Earth was destroyed, in a distress call, former CDC Assistant Director George Barclay reveals that the infectious contaminants have gone airborne. He advises caution regarding any allies showing signs of short-term memory loss, psychosis, delusion, and paranoia. These were some of the signs of people turning. So those were the 2 ways that Earth became depopulated. People were either killed by the rockets or turned into the undead. And so the few people who did survive formed groups. One society of survivors formed a group called the Flesh. These people would eat the flesh of the zombies. The main reason for them eating it was due to the lack of food, since it had been 2 years since the rockets destroyed Earth. Rations of food was becoming low, so they ate the flesh of the undead. However, what they didn't know is that through the consumption of undead meat, they would gain a connection to the ether. Since the zombies were infected with element 115 and 115 has a connection to the ether, if you eat that meat, you would gain that connection too. And so when these survivors ate it, they began hearing Richtofen's voice in their head, since Richtofen could talk to people through the ether.
What's that? Who's there? Yes, I can hear you. Huh? Of course I have. There's nothing else. No, I won't do that. How do I know you're not lying? You could be making all that up, huh? Well, sure, that only makes sense. Two of them. Kill them. But, no, I see. Sure. Really? But they're my friends. Yes. Of course I see now. I'll do it. I'll do it for you. For you and the flesh.
So that was a random member of the Flesh you just heard, talking to Richtofen in his head. However, that wasn't the only group of survivors. There was also another society, but we don't have a name for them. This group of survivors was contacted by Maxis through radios and broadcast signals, where he told them he wants them to build polarization devices for him. And so that's exactly what happened. In these radios you can hear the survivors attempting to contact Maxis, talking to him, and following his instructions to build the spire.
Hello? Hello? Are you there? We have activated the spire as you instructed, but the shamblers are swarming our location, and we can't hold out against their superior numbers for long without aid. Hello? Please, come in. It is vital that you instruct us on that... You think you're so smart, huh? You think you can manipulate everybody into doing what you want, but we know the truth. All your calculating works and your sinister agents? You mean to destroy this planet and kill us all? We're not gonna help. No way, no how. So yeah, you keep talking. But no one's gonna hear you because we're destroying everything. Everything electronic, starting with this evil radio box thing. Voice! Come in, unidentified electronic voice. We've been attempting to activate your spire as instructed, but one of our members began hearing the other voice you warned us about. He turned on the rest of us and shot one member of our crew and wounded another before we restrained him. Hello? Hello? Damn this thing! Why doesn't it answer when we call it? Hello?
In that final radio from one of the survivors attempting to contact Maxis, you can hear him say one of the survivors turned on us and shot one member of our crew. That survivor would have been a member of the Flesh. He would have secretly eaten the meat of the undead, began to hear Richtofen's voice in his head, and Richtofen would have told him to kill the survivors following Maxis' orders. The two groups, both the Flesh and this one, were at war with each other. And we find even more evidence of this from a radio recorded by someone who was called Jackass Flats.
Hello? This is Jackass Flats, calling any human community within broadcasting distance. We're located at standard map coordinates 37 degrees 07 north, 116 degrees 03 west. This is a warning to anyone contacted by a group of mysterious voices. Several of our party began to hear the voices, and their competing instructions and incompatible demands drove a wedge down the center of the camp. Half of the camp is carrying out the demands of only through electronic. This voice is a big, long, and its ultimate goal is unclear. The other voice cannot be heard by humans who have not been on the long madness this way lies. Neither of these instruction sets will understand. Those of us who have not chosen a side have been hunted by both sides, seeking to force us to assist them. Oh God, they found us! Oh! Get back! You get stuck!
So you can hear Jackass says there are either three choices. You can either join the Flesh and be a part of Richtofen's group, you can join the other group attempting to contact Maxis, or you can join neither. However, if you're not a part of those two groups, you are likely to die. They're gonna come after you and kill you. But whichever group you chose, I don't think it really mattered anyway, because in the end a battle broke out between them all. They all fought one another, and as the zombie horde moved in on them, they destroyed all who remained. There were only a few survivors out of the groups. One of those survivors we know was Stuhlinger. He was also a member of the Flesh, hence why he can hear Richthofen's voice in his head. But in the end, out of the survivors that did remain, most of them either killed each other or were killed by the undead, leaving even fewer. So there we go. Yes, there are still other survivors on Earth besides from the characters that we've seen, but not all that many. And I've said many times before, it would be so interesting if we could learn the story of these other characters. If in BO5 we went back to Ether, but we got to see the stories of other survivors, how they lived through the zombie apocalypse. Anyway guys, there we go, that is it. That is all I have for you for today's video. As always, hopefully you have enjoyed. If you have, you know what to do. Drop a like rating, make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest content on the channel. Leave any questions you have in the comment section below, and I'll see you all in the next video. Until then, goodbye.